Welcome to this explainer. You know, I've always wondered why business payments take so painfully long in our hyper-connected world. Well, today, we are exploring a really fascinating transformation happening right now, deep within the plumbing of global finance. We're going to see exactly how artificial intelligence, specifically neural networks and machine learning, is taking traditional, slow legacy payment structures and turning them into an instant, secure fortress of finance. If you've ever wondered how technology is finally fixing these massive payment delays, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get started.
Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the liquidity vacuum, then move on to automating invoice liquidation, predicting payment outcomes, predictive dynamic discounting, real-time fraud detection, and finally, wrap up with the future of finance. All right, Section 1, the liquidity vacuum. To truly appreciate this AI revolution we're talking about, we first need to understand the massive problem plaguing traditional supply chain finance today. I mean, we really have to ask ourselves, why do supply chains still rely on terms like net 90 or net 120? You deliver your goods today, but you don't see a single dime for 3 to 4 months. It's a rigid structure that creates a massive liquidity vacuum. It fundamentally strains business relationships and chokes working capital for the very suppliers that literally keep the supply chain moving in the first place. Now, the crucial takeaway here is honestly staggering. Did you know that extended payment windows tie up approximately 30% of a supplier's annual revenue in outstanding receivables? 30%! That is a massive amount of cash just trapped in limbo, creating intense pressure on suppliers to somehow bridge the gap across multiple fiscal quarters.
Traditionally, this delay isn't just some clever financial strategy. No, it's necessitated by an incredibly rigid, manual accounts payable workflow. Think about it. Human reviewers have to painstakingly compare invoice details against purchase orders and receiving documents. This sequential, hierarchical approval chain, it's basically the root of all the friction. Under this sluggish legacy process, doing a manual three-way match can take up to 12 to 15 days just to verify documents and process a standard payment. It's totally plagued by bottlenecks, accidental data entry mistakes, and exception handling that can easily stall a payment for weeks at a time. It's a real headache.
So let's look at the solution in Section 2, automating invoice liquidation.
We are finally moving from a world of manual three-way matching that takes weeks to an AI-enabled approach taking mere hours. To really picture this in action, imagine a company, let's call them SwiftCart. In the past, SwiftCart's accounts payable team completely drowned in piles of paper invoices, but today, they use an AI-powered neural network scanner. The very moment a paper or PDF invoice arrives, the neural network uses optical character recognition and natural language processing to intelligently extract the data, completely regardless of how messy the layout might be. It then instantly cross-references that data with SwiftCart's purchase orders and receiving records, automatically executing a flawless, real-time three-way match. Cycle times drop from 15 days to just 2 to 4 hours. It's a total game changer.
And this kind of speed brings a drastic operational improvement. Those frustrating exception rates, the errors that require a human to stop and investigate, they plummet from up to 20% in manual systems down to under 5% with AI. This machine validation basically eliminates duplicate payments and mismatched line items altogether.
Moving right along to Section 3, predicting payment outcomes.
So for decades, organizations have dealt with what's called the invoice payment prediction problem, or IPPP, mostly by just reacting to late payments with debt collectors or penalty fees. But machine learning shifts this entirely. Instead of reacting when it's too late, organizations are now using historical data, customer profiles, and behavioral patterns to proactively forecast payment timelines very early in the invoicing cycle. And different algorithms yield some really powerful results for the IPP. While gradient-boosted decision trees and random forests offer strong prediction accuracy, right around 76 to 77%, the true standout is the neural network. It leads the pack with an incredible 92.4% accuracy when predicting if an invoice will be paid in under 30 days. It does this by learning complex, nonlinear patterns, like tiny transaction volume spikes or multi-party relation indicators that humans simply couldn't ever spot.
Which brings us to Section 4, predictive dynamic discounting.
Forget about those rigid, one-size-fits-all, 210 net 30 models, where a supplier gets a static 2% discount just for paying in 10 days. They leave so much value on the table, and frankly, they often fail to even motivate suppliers. Predictive dynamic discounting completely changes the game. AI constantly evaluates seasonal revenue fluctuations and working capital cycles to offer uniquely optimized, flexible early payment discounts. It's tailored to exactly what a specific supplier needs at that exact moment in time. Now, you might be wondering, how does the AI know the perfect rate? Well, it simultaneously weighs multiple distinct data points. The optimization algorithms factor in the buyer's cost of capital, they estimate the supplier's immediate cash position, they look at historical acceptance thresholds, and they evaluate live market rates. It mathematically calculates the absolute minimum discount required to maximize the buyer's yield while specifically targeting the supplier's liquidity needs. Amazingly, early adopters of this are seeing a 25 to 40% increase in captured discounts.
Next up, Section 5, Real-Time Fraud Detection. Of course, instant liquidation cannot mean instant risk, right? To secure these high-throughput payment channels, systems employ incredibly sophisticated, unsupervised machine learning, specifically things called variational autoencoders, or VAEs, for real-time anomaly detection.
Let's break down how this actually works by going back to our earlier example. Let's say a masked villain, a total fraudster, tries to slip a completely fabricated fraudulent invoice into SwiftCart's accounts payable clearing system. While the AI encoder instantly maps that transaction into a compressed probability distribution. Then, the decoder attempts to reconstruct it based on what it knows a normal invoice should look like. But because our villain's invoice has subtle anomalies, maybe the vendor history is off, or the transaction velocity just doesn't match up, the system fails to reconstruct it smoothly. The VAE instantly flags the top 1% of these reconstruction errors, catching the masked villain's fraudulent invoice dead in its tracks. And it does this in real time, before a single cent is ever paid out.
The sheer computing speed required to do all of this is mind-blowing. To continuously monitor tens of thousands of transactions per second without ever slowing down the payments themselves, these complex deep learning pipelines execute multi-dimensional risk scores in under 100 milliseconds. They achieve this by utilizing highly advanced hardware like GPU acceleration and specialized field programmable gate arrays. And because this machine learning risk assessment is just so remarkably precise, it slashes false positive fraud holds from up to 10% in manual operations down to under 2%. That means legitimate supplier payments just keep moving smoothly while the actual, real threats are instantly neutralized.
Finally, let's look ahead in Section 6, the future of finance.
We've seen the automation, the prediction, and the impenetrable security. Ultimately, this quote perfectly captures the paradigm shift we are witnessing, reframing supply chain payments as a data optimization challenge rather than a fixed-term obligation. AI fundamentally proves that extended payment windows, those crushing 90 to 120-day delays, they are no longer an inevitable business reality. By viewing accounts payable as a dynamic, data-driven engine, we can erase the friction and empower both buyers and suppliers.
As machine learning continues to redefine this fortress of finance, the technology is undeniably here and ready to deploy. The only question left is, will you remain stuck in the rigid, manual friction of the past, or are you ready to embrace the liquid, automated future? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning and keep optimizing.